So should you buy Silent Hill F? Well, I'm about to do a little review here, and hopefully I'll be able to help answer that question for you. So I'm not going to be doing like a normal point system that most reviewers go off of, you know, the 0 through 10 scale, because honestly, I'm just not good at it. I have never been able to really assign numbers or something like that. My brain just can't wrap around it. So the way that I'm going to review it is I'm going to talk about the settings slash visuals slash atmosphere of everything. I'm going to talk about the combat, I'm going to talk about the puzzles, and I'm going to talk about the plot. And I'm going to put all 4 of those things into one of 4 categories, either great, good, okay, or bad. So to start off with the setting, visuals, and atmosphere, I think that these are great. I really enjoyed the Japanese village, like country village side setting that this is taking place in. I think that it is an absolutely beautiful game. I think that all the colors are on point, the character designs, the monster designs. I think everything about it is a very gorgeous game. I think they knocked it out of the park with it. I think that all the set pieces are just very nice. I think that the colors, once again, they also pop a whole lot in the other world as well as the main real world. The whole atmosphere and vibe of the game wasn't quite as tense or as nerve-wracking as something like Silent Hill 2, at least not to me, and part of that could just be because of me playing Silent Hill 2. I've just become immune to feeling any sense of dread. But that being said, it was still unnerving at times, and it did kind of provoke that sense of unease that you've kind of come to expect from the Silent Hill entries. So overall, I think that those elements of the game are very strong. So moving on to the combat and gameplay, I think that these are okay. I think that the combat definitely could have been better. It introduced some cool concepts like having a sanity meter and a little focus bar to where if you used your focus, you could charge it up and you could do a special attack with it. And in charging that up, it depletes your sanity meter, which you recharge by either picking up consumables or you go to a shrine. But after a while, the combat got really tiresome. So the first couple hours of the combat, it was alright, it was fun. But after about 3 or 4 hours, the amount of enemies that you encounter kind of starts becoming excessive. And they're pretty tanky too. There's this one guy, I don't know what the actual name of the enemy is, but he's like this little monkey type thing in a way. And he literally hops around. So he'll go, let me just demonstrate this for you. He'll hit you with a couple of these. He'll go side to side, do a little shimmy. And then he'll charge up and he'll pounce on you. And he's so freaking annoying. I cannot stand fighting that enemy. That was like one of my least favorite parts of the game, was fighting that stupid bastard, because he's one of the tankiest of them all. And it's no fun because he's so fast. Your stamina meter will run out really quick whenever you actually do your attacks, and it takes so many hits to actually kill the enemies. You can upgrade your stamina meter and it makes it a little bit better, but you just run out of stamina way too quick, and the enemies take too many hits to kill for it to feel like it's balanced. On top of, like I said, after a certain amount of time, you just end up running into excessive amounts of enemies. It's around every corner, through every doorway, there's gonna be an enemy sitting there. And I think that just kind of dampened the overall experience of it. Now, for most of the game, you can run away from these enemies, and that's honestly what I ended up doing a lot versus actually fighting them. It got to a point where I really only fought them if I absolutely had to, but for about the last hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe a little bit more than that, you're gonna encounter a lot of places where you don't have the choice to run away. You just have to fight them. And like I said, I think that it just really dampens the fun of the game because of that. The gameplay itself, though, I think it was fun. They introduced a couple cool concepts with that as well, in the sense of the shrines. So there are certain items that you can pick up on the ground. Well, actually, every item that you pick up on the ground, just the consumables, you can go offer them at the shrine for a thing called faith, and it's kind of like a little currency system. So you can offer those up for faith, and as long as you have enough faith, as well as there's like these little plaques called EMAs, EMA. I don't know, that's the spelling of it. I don't know how you actually pronounce it, but as long as you have the correct amount of plaques and the correct amount of faith, you can upgrade your abilities. So you can upgrade your health, you can upgrade your stamina, and you can upgrade your sanity meter, as well as you can buy these things called Omemories, which basically are like little ability boosters, essentially. So, you know, one of them might increase your overall health, it may increase your overall stamina, one of them may increase the chances of like stunning an enemy, just so on and so forth. And I think that those are cool. I think that they were pretty decently executed. But once again, just going back to the combat, those things were kind of drowned out a little bit because of the combat. I think that if the combat would have been more balanced on it, that the rest of the gameplay would have been more fun. One thing I will say that I noticed some people had complaints on that I really didn't have a problem with was the inventory space though. So you get, starting out, 8 or 9 inventory slots, I believe. It may be 10, don't quote me, I can't remember for sure, but you get a set amount of inventory slots. I want to say it's 9. And you can upgrade these, but the only way to do that is by finding like little bags on the ground. Some of them come in the form of like a backpack. Some of them may come in the form of like a purse or something like that, and it'll increase your inventory slots, and it'll only do it by 1, maybe 2. So you don't just have like a massive inventory, but a lot of people were complaining about that, and I just didn't have an issue with it. So I would usually have my inventory space full, but that didn't bother me, because if I just found something else that I wanted, I would go to a shrine and either offer up something to clear out the space, or if I wasn't by a shrine, I would just destroy something that I hardly ever used, because there were a lot of the items that I honestly didn't use. The main things that I used were a med kit, some bandages, and there's one thing that'll like boost your stamina. It'll completely recover it, and then it'll also lock the bar for a set amount of time to where you can't deplete any more stamina. And most of these items stack too, so the only ones that I think didn't stack were the items that like were specifically for giving as offerings to get faith, the ones that weren't actually technically consumables, and then the med kits, they didn't stack. But most everything else stacked, and I really didn't have a problem with the inventory space. It was fine for me. It didn't bother me at all. But I did notice a couple of people complaining about that, like on Reddit and stuff. So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. So on to the puzzles. I think the puzzles were good. I think they were fun. There are a bunch of them that stumped me. I'm not gonna lie about it. So like in Silent Hill 2, the majority of them I got pretty easily. Most of these stumped me though. There were a couple of the puzzles that got a little bit tedious, because leading up to the actual puzzle part of it, you had to go find the components naturally, and they were crests, and the actual finding of the crests themselves wasn't that bad. The tedious part of it was just touching back on the combat again. There were just excessive amounts of enemies. It essentially got to a point where most of the time you were just run here, grab this item, and kill a bunch of enemies on the way, and then on the way back, kill a bunch more enemies. And you didn't really get a whole lot of time to just breathe. But other than that, like I said, they were fun, clever, engaging. I think that they did the puzzles pretty well. So one of the most important pieces, the plot, I think it had a pretty great plot to it. I'm not gonna lie about it. Not to spoil anything, but there are, of course, multiple endings, like all the other Silent Hill games. And you have to play all of them to get the bigger picture and to get the context and the lore and everything. I know, like with Silent Hill 2, for example, just to keep referencing it. Sorry, it's just only one of my favorite games of all time that happens to be in the same line as this. But with those endings, you kind of knew everything leading up to the ending. The ending was the biggest question. Like, of course, you had your different choices to make throughout the game that would influence and affect the endings, but you pretty much knew everything, like lore-wise and context-wise. Whereas with this one, each ending you unlock kind of adds another piece to the puzzle. And by the time you get to the true ending, of course, you get the full, biggest, broadest scope of everything, and are able to pretty well fit all the pieces together. And also, of course, naturally, the plot was very deep and metaphorical, just like you've come to expect from the Silent Hill series. So of course I'm not going to go very deep into the plot because I don't want to give away any kind of spoilers or anything like that. But just overall, I personally think that it had a great plot to it. I was pretty invested the whole time, and I really did enjoy it. I think it was very well written. The moment we've all been waiting for. Should you buy the game? If you already like the Silent Hill series, or if you're a fan of the survival horror genre in general, I think yes. I think that it is worth the money. I know it's the expensive $70 game and nobody really likes paying for that, but I think that it is worth the money. I think that you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I know that I did. Of course, I have my gripes with it, but overall, I did have a great time playing it. And it has, of course, good replayability too because of the fact of it having multiple endings. So yeah, if you already like the series or you like the genre, then I think that it is a worthy buy. If you're on the fence about the genre though, or about Silent Hill specifically, I don't think that it's the best one to start out with. I think that whenever it goes on sale, 100%, but to pay full price for it, I don't know that I would, just because of the existence of the Silent Hill 2 remake. I think that it is a lot better of an introduction into the series and what the series is, as well as the genre as a whole. So if you're on the fence about the genre of the series, I recommend going and picking up Silent Hill 2, the remake, of course, by Bloober Team. And that should give you a pretty good idea of whether you like what this genre has to bring to the table. Yeah, overall, I think that it is a pretty good game. I think that if you buy it, you're going to have a good time on it. It just kind of comes down to what do you want to do with your money. And of course, I already have the full playthrough uploaded to the channel that you can go watch and get a better idea of if you're interested in the game or not. So taking all the elements into consideration, overall, to rate the game as a whole, I would put it in the upper echelon of the good category. It's close to great, but the combat really does just hold it back. I think that if it were better, well-rounded, and more balanced, I think that it would have bumped it up more into the great category. If the game would have been a little bit longer, I think that that also would have given it a necessary bump as well. So just initial playthrough, the first standard ending, it only took me 9 hours to get through. I know, of course, if you want to go get all the endings, it's going to take you a good bit longer. But for the people who don't want to do multiple playthroughs and you just are fine with the one standard ending, I think that it would have benefited to have the game be an extra hour or two longer, maybe 3. But yeah, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. If you're interested in buying the game, if you've already played it, let me know what you think about it. And yeah, hopefully this helps you make a decision. Later, goobers.